All right, I am going to introduce our next speaker. You know him as Lai Topaz, or Very G, or Kant Cardone. You guys, if you've been on my list for a while, you know that I did an interview with Ian Stanley probably about a year ago. You know him as the email conversion king. I asked him, "Where's your PowerPoint?" He said, "They don't need PowerPoint, they just need to stare at me." So I got him his whiteboard. He's all set to share with you his email conversion tactics and everything he knows about marketing. Mr. Ian Stanley. Mic on and everything?
I think I'm good as long as this doesn't fall off. Can you guys hear me? I don't think it's on there that well, to be honest. I think I'm gonna have to rebutton.
Could be all the chest
I want you
hair,
to have
I'm
more.
sure.
I need more chest hair. This is a selling tactic. I've actually split tested it. The more chest hair you show, the more people listen to you. And the more you make the microphone make this noise. People love this noise. All right, there we go. We good? Do I look like a nerd now? No? Still sexy-ish? Cool. So, thank you, Goa. That was a much better intro than the last time I spoke. Ed O'Keefe put a lot of pressure on me a couple days ago, and I much prefer this. I feel more relaxed. So I do not do PowerPoint. It's just not really my thing. But I do want to present some stuff for you. And I even wrote some stuff down as to what I'm going to talk about. So first off, I've been to Canada a couple of times. I was in Kelowna. I had an e-com company. I had a water filter company. You may have seen me drink out of toilets. I'm the toilet water guy. Yeah, my mum. Yeah, I've drank out of toilets in LAX, at my own home, Mexican orphanage. You name it, I've drank out of a toilet there. Kind of my thing. With a filter. Not just straight out of it, just so you guys know. It's not like a fetish. So actually, I sold my filter company to a company in Kelowna. They're actually the fastest growing startup in Canada. And so I've been to Canada a bit, and like, you guys are seriously the nicest. If you guys are who's from Canada? Raise your hand. Like, actually raise it. Oh yeah, most of you, okay. Yeah, you guys are like the nicest people. Like, all of the stereotypes are completely true. Like, I was in a bar in Kelowna, and first off, this girl just comes up to me and she's like, "Oh, I'd like to buy you a drink, eh?" And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And then they literally brought out freshly baked cookies from behind the bar, like these little mini cookies. And I was like, "Oh, what are those for?" And like, "Oh, just for the bar patrons." I was like, do you charge them?" No. We just want people to have freshly baked cookies when they come to our bar. And I was like, this is not real life. But yesterday, I grabbed a couple omelets at Fran's restaurant downtown, and I sat next to, I think, the worst Canadian. This is a terrible, terrible person. And I've also solved global warming, just so you know. All we need to do is take all the loud talkers and just shoot them on sight. Extremely effective, way less resources. But he was a really loud talker, and I've never heard a Canadian get mad before. Or be mean. And he was sitting with his girlfriend, and she was sick. She was like, she's like coughing, which made it even better to sit next to them. And he was like, "Oh, you want some OJ? You want some orange juice?" And she's like, "No, I'm fine." He's like, "You're gonna have some gosh darn orange juice, and you're gonna get your vitamin C." I was like, Jesus, even when Canadians are mean, they're being nice. It's like, I care about your health, okay? So that's my experience of Canada so far. Thank you for letting me share that with you. It's been fun. Let's talk about marketing. So what I'm actually gonna do, I'm gonna talk about copy and marketing for probably the first 30 minutes. And then I'm gonna talk about money, because frankly, you guys wanna learn about copy, but really, copy is just a vehicle to make more money. So I want to show you guys how to make more money and work less, if that's what you're into. Kind of my thing. Work more, grind, hustle. Right? You got to work more to make more. is actually an awful core belief about money that I'll talk about later. Open loop, sales tactic number 1. Okay, so first off, if you guys are taking notes, very quickly, when you take notes by hand, it's scientifically proven that you actually retain more information. There's part of it is the amount of movement that you're using with your hands helps you basically fire more neurons in your brain. So I would recommend taking notes by hand in general. I know you guys have your computers out and such. Just a little heads up. So we're going to start out with email copy. So the first thing is, whenever you're writing an email, you want to stay focused and focus on just one thing. And the big thing is to focus on having a clear story arc. So people focus on all these different things in an email, but you want to stay very clear on what you're doing and really just focus on one tip. So just a tip, just for a second, just to see how it feels. So it's not Google compliant. That's not true. It's totally compliant. So you want to focus on just one tip, and you basically want to tease people. That's what email is really all about. Especially with info products, you want to just tease them and sort of leave them right on the edge, wanting more but not quite satisfied. And guess how they get that satisfaction? They click or they buy a product. Because when you actually give them too much, when you give them the whole thing, what happens is they sort of complete the process for themselves and they no longer need to click, right? So within email, there are 3 main types of emails, or email writers. So you've got what I call the teacher. And teachers in email are compensated very much like teachers in the educational world. Not very well, unfortunately. People think that they're supposed to teach, let me give all this valuable content, but what happens is when you give too much valuable content, you actually steal from their experience, because if they can go do the things that you're telling them to do, they're not going to buy a product, and your product is how they actually get long-term results, right? So you don't want to teach. Teachers give it up. They give it up way too easily, right? So you want to, and you basically condition people to take everything for free. Now, the other type of email is what I call the used car salesman. The used car salesman, these are the people who churn and burn their lists, selling constantly but in a shitty way. They're masters of baiting the hook. They are constantly, 13 bottles left. Thanks, Stefan. 13 bottles left, buy this or die. Constantly basically making offers without any value infused into it, without any story, without any relationship building. And these are the people that have to constantly get new leads into their funnel, which you obviously always should be doing, but they basically have to or their business will fall apart. And so what you actually want to be is what I call the speaker. And this is what's at the base of all great email marketing. When you watch a great speaker, like you guys are doing right now, what happens is you're entertained, you're maybe inspired, you learn something, but basically at the end of it you go, do you have a book? Do you have something else that I can learn about? They leave you wanting more, right? So that's what you want to do in your emails, is basically entertain, inspire them, tell stories. And here's the thing, and this is something that it sort of goes against a lot of normal copy teaching, which is, in copy people always say you. The most important word that you can ever use in your copy is you. Well, with email it's actually a bit different. You actually want to talk about yourself. You want to be a bit vain, okay? That is the last step in compelling email copy, is telling stories about yourself, being vain, saying I. Tell them what your experiences are, because a lot of it's aspirational. Depending on what you're doing, people want to be like you, or even if it's the products you use, they want to use the products you use, whether it's e-com or whatever it is. But But people don't really develop relationships with businesses. They develop relationships with people. So if you're sending from a business, your from names should be a person, and you should be telling your stories and allowing people to get to know you. Connection happens along the rough edges. The more vulnerable you're willing to be, the more you can connect, the more you can sell. So the stories that scare you the most, the stories that you do not want to tell, the ones that you thought you would never tell anybody, go tell those to a bunch of strangers. That's what I do some stand-up comedy, and it's literally, you're like, you know that story that I was so ashamed of my entire life? I'm going to go into a room full of people that I've never met and tell them that whole story. It's wild. And the same thing with email. The more you're willing to share, the more you end up selling. You know you're doing a good job if you go to an event or something and somebody's on your list and they come up to you and tell you stuff about yourself that you're like, how could you know that? And you're like, oh yeah, I tell my email list everything about me. That makes sense. So, and what's the goal here, you guys? What's the goal with email marketing? What? You can take a guess. Anybody want to guess? Who's feeling brave? You already know. You don't get to guess. No, my friend, we're shooting for the profit. Simple. Okay? And actually, there's a bit I forgot here. So one of the things within emails, I've found that there are about 10 email types that work better than everything else, about 2 of those that work better than everything else as well. It's the 80-20 principle in practice. I've written thousands and thousands of emails. But basically, you want to go and test these different types of emails. This is a correlation email. Mr. Miyagi. You got all these different email types. And this is sort of how you go about it all. Did that out of order. That's okay. All right, so that's the email copy section. And so this is just a traditional Venn diagram. I'd like you guys to draw this in your notebooks. And there's a reason I draw this traditional Venn diagram, and that's because emotion drives learning. So people really forget about this. Emotion, not only does it drive learning, so if you're laughing, if something's unique, you're far more likely to remember that thing. This thing here is memorable. The first time I drew it, I actually traced it. That's a new joke. Oh, God. I broke myself. Yeah. I got a bad story I kind of want to tell. Is this recording? I can't have my ex-girlfriend see this. She'll kill me. I'm going to tell this. Do you guys want to hear it? It's like a 1-minute story. It's horribly inappropriate. Okay, so Stefan just said the words, of course. This is you've implanted it in my brain now, Stefan. My first ever book was called Sexual Inception. I was 19. Please don't judge me. I was in the dating market. And but the first time I ever drew this, I drew a version of it, and it was at my friend's house, and I was filming it to show like this diagram. It wasn't as good. I've worked on it since then, but he had it just posted up in his apartment, and I ended up moving into that apartment later. And so what had happened? God, I can't believe I'm telling this on camera. Girls would sometimes come over, like one of them. I don't know why I said girls. And they'd come up and they'd see this massive phallus on the wall, and they'd be like, "What is that?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I traced it." Fucking worked every time. Dumbest joke. But it's basically putting the thought of your penis being big in their mind. It works. Okay, now that you guys have thought about that, Goa, I'm sorry. Are you like, dude, what are you doing? But it's important. That's setting a frame.
I wasn't even thinking about that, Ian. I didn't realize that you worked for a filter company. So when I filled your water with toilet water, I didn't filter it in your water bottle.
Oh, man.
Now I know.
I knew it tasted better than normal.
Well, it's Canada, so.
Yeah. But yeah, so actually that is important. Is there are all these little frames you can set within your copy, little open loops you can put in, and basically when it comes to emotion, to go back to that, emotion drives learning, but it also drives buying more than almost anything. Which is actually interesting because, so one of my businesses now is, it's called Lionheart, and my business partner is an executive coach, therapist. He works for some of the literally CEOs and chairmen of the biggest companies in the world. And part of the work is sort of learning more about your emotions and learning how to access them. And the unexpected benefit of all this is we've had a lot of copywriters go through workshops and not talking about copy at all. And their copy gets significantly better, which mine has done as well, because copy is really emotional. People try and put all this logic and all this stuff into it. But the best thing you can ever do is create massive emotions within a person. And the more emotions you can create within one sales letter, one email, one video, the more likely somebody is to buy. Because in an emotional state, people will do stuff that they won't normally do. Now, it's not to say that you're going to create a deep change in a person in a sales letter, but the idea is that you create enough emotion that they buy, and then the change happens. So, which actually leads to, what I want to do, I want to give you guys a few things copy-related that you can literally leave here, go test them, and make your money back. Or, well, more than back, to be honest. So the first thing is to test, write this down, is the first sentence of your copy. So literally the most important sentence of all of your copy is the first sentence. I think more so than the headline. I have a weird thing. Headlines don't seem to change conversions for me personally very much. I know lots of people have different experiences with that. That doesn't seem to be the needle mover. And actually the next test I'm running with a client is removing the headline and just starting with the first line of the copy. Because the second you see a headline, you actually know what you're doing, right? You know you're being sold, which maybe is good, because maybe if they keep reading, they're the type of person who buys. But I want to test and see what happens if I just hit them with that first sentence right away. So I don't edit my copy very much, and anybody on my email list knows that that's the truth. But I do work on my first sentence. If I spend 80% of my time anywhere, it's on that first sentence. So I did a test with Mike Geary. I don't know if you guys know Truth About Abs and stuff. And I was like, you guys should get rid of that first sentence. And it just said like, hey, my name's Mike Geary with Nutrition Watchdog. I'm about to show you this thing. And remove that sentence, 22% lift, or I think 18% lift. So what I learned is that in every video that I've ever done, I basically messed it up. Because I would start out my videos like, hey, I'm Ian with Fixed Water and I'm about to drink toilet water. Actually, I started those works. I go, I'm Ian and I'm about to drink toilet water, which is a take on Jackass, if you've seen it. But if you waste your first sentence telling somebody who you are, that's literally your most valuable thing that you can say to someone, is the first 5-10 seconds of whatever you're doing. So if you waste it on, hey, my name's this, they're like, hey, I don't care about you. That is the reality of what's happening. Nobody gives a fuck about you until they know that you care about them, right? So all these people write what I call we copy, which is, our company specializes in designing handbags for leprechauns, whatever the fuck it is. And it's like, I don't care until you talk to me about me, right? So start out with them and then move in. But the first sentence is, does anybody know what the point of the first sentence is of any sales material? Boom. What's the point of the second sentence? Whoa, that's amazing. Yes, but people think it's to sell or it's to do something. It's really to drive them into whatever it is that you want them to consume. So some of my first sentences have been, I think my favorite one is, John didn't know he was going to die that night. That control's been running for like 3 years now. So basically, and what I do is I templatize everything. Right? Anything that works for me once, I'm remarkably lazy. So I don't want to have to do it again. I've been creative once. I don't want to have to be creative again. So I take whatever works and then I turn that into a formula. Right? So the split test that I was telling you I'm going to run, it's like a traditional headline. It's about testosterone, and it's like, I don't even remember what it is. But the first line is, Joe didn't know his marriage was going to end that night. Where did I get that from? I had another one. I think Judy didn't know she was going to die that night, which she didn't. As long as they're not dying in vain, they're helping sell products. But they're very good products, so in all fairness, it's real. But so test your first sentence, and the best thing you can do in the first sentence is create a lot of curiosity. One of the ones for my own business is, when I was 15 years old, 5 men stole my freedom. And so that's a sort of simple formula you can go with if there's anything more personal. When I was this age, here's this thing that happened to me. I wrote one the other day, actually, after I spoke. It was like running down the street running to the hospital with my best friend in my arms, not knowing if he was going to die, was one of the worst days of my life, which is true and making me emotional already. So if you can tell an emotional story, if you can open with that, that's almost always going to be the most powerful thing you can do. Paris Lampropoulos said, if he has a story lead, he uses it. And so a lead would be the first, 30 seconds to a minute of a sales video, the first 200 to 500 words of a sales letter. And if you have something that's already converting, for the most part, the meat of the sandwich is pretty solid. The middle is solid. So if I go in and I split test something, and basically what I do nowadays if I do any freelancing is I don't write stuff from scratch. I go in and I basically either change a lead, I change the first 30 seconds to a minute of the first upsell. I make little changes or I change the offer. But if something's converting, I'm probably not going to get a big lift by changing the stuff in the middle of that because it's working. Which leads me to my next point, which is, what Paris said is, if he has a story lead, he always uses it. So I've gotten more and more into just telling stories through my copy to the point where I've written sales letters now that are literally just long stories. And that's really all it is. So this is what I call how to not pay me to beat your controls. This is that section, if you're interested in that, which is basically go through your copy. So one of the main things that I do when I want to beat somebody's control, and a control, if people don't know, is just the current standing sales letter or sales piece. I look through it and I just see what stands out to me, or I'll ask somebody else to read it and be like, what stands out? What is interesting? What is unique? And then I take that and I move it to the top of the sales letter. So I basically take all of the hard work that another copywriter has put into this sales letter, and then I profit from it, which I'll talk about more in the money section. But seriously, is if you go through and you just find out what really stands out, it's pretty easy to just pull that to the top. I did that with one of Gary's sales letters. There was a thing like your personal fat threshold. I was like, that's an interesting concept. So I literally put that in the headline, wrote about 5 sentences of copy, and it was a 22% lift. So people are just basically putting their good shit way too late. It's extremely common. I had one in the supplement niche where the opening thing was about, we had this shot, this liquid shot, and basically there were 3 core sections to it. One was all the foods it replaces. One was how liquid supplements work better than pills because they don't absorb into your system. And the third one was about all the supplements that it replaces. I remember I walked into the office, this is when I was at Crisis Education, Perfect Water Purifier, and I saw these supplements and I'm like, oh, can I take these home when we stop filming? And they were like, yeah, sure. And I was like, wait, all of these supplements are in this shot? And they're like, yeah. I was like, holy shit. It was like every supplement I'd ever wanted to take, but I wasn't going to spend $700 a month on all of them. And so I was like, damn, that's really compelling. So that was the third section of the copy. So what I did is I brought it to the top, and it was like, hey, are you tired of a cupboard that looks like this? Or a counter that looks like this? Or a bag that looks like this? And it was all full of supplements. And we got a 33% lift just by putting that at the beginning. So sequence is the single most important thing in your copy, in my opinion. You can write all the right words in all the wrong order. You can put all the right paragraphs in the wrong places. You can start with all the wrong things. And copy is very similar. Actually, stand-up and copy have a ton in common. There's a lot you can say in the middle of a sales letter that you can't say in the beginning. Once you've started to create an argument and people have learned from you and they've started to trust you, or you've told them different things, you can say completely different things 20 minutes into a video than you could have at the very beginning, right? If I had led with the story about my bedroom, been like, this guy is really creepy. Now you're just like, he's kind of creepy. But so you want to make sure that the sequence is the thing that you're most focused on. I sort of view sales letters as these like almost Legos, right? And they're stacked on top of each other, and I'll just take sections and pull them out and test them in sort of different sections. Two more things that you guys can just sort of quickly implement. Who here has tested bump offers on their checkout pages? The rest of you, shame. It's one of those things where like, you're like, oh, I'll just throw something on there. I just did this. I just gave out there, I just did created a new offer for basically email templates. It's an emails of the month club. And so I posted it on Facebook and all these people responded. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll throw a bump offer on there. And it's a $47 a month thing. And I was like, I'll just give them this like 5-figure launches from tiny lists thing. Wrote about 4 sentences a copy, right there with the little bump thing with the, the arrow pointing towards it. And I'm getting like 50 to 70% or something of people taking that offer. And it literally took me 1 minute to add it on there. And had I not done that, my AOV for that, for the $47 front end, is like $115. And without that, it would have probably been 70. So highly recommend testing bump offers. You don't have to get too clever. The big thing I would do is test the price. People want to test the copy and all these things. If you have enough traffic going to something, just test the price and see which one actually works. 17, 27, 77, those seem to be pretty good working ones. Anybody here have like supplement companies or e-com? Okay. And you can do this with info products as well. This is like one of the best videos I did. So for the water filter company, my final upsell, and I literally shot this on my iPhone. I think it was up against a glass like that, set up my phone and shot it in my buddy's apartment in San Diego because I had the idea while I was there. So I had three $20 bills and a $100 bill. And this is the last upsell. And I just said, hey, I want you to have this. It's a $20 bill, or this, or even this. And that was a $100 bill. I said, all you have to do is click the link below to post this on Facebook or share it in an email. It'll literally take you less than 10 seconds. And for every person who buys a filter through your special link that we've made for you, you'll get paid $20, right? Which is also half of our normal CPA. So we get half of our normal CPA to pay somebody to do it. They want to share, and they literally have to click a link. It goes on Facebook. We added $3,000 a day just from that one video. So whatever it is that you're doing, if you have any sort of, it doesn't have to be even like a social product per se, throw that at the end of your upsell sequence and it can make a big difference. And then, who has seen emails that come from like your abs as the from name, or your butt, or your wallet, or the devil? I wrote that one. So has anybody here tested the from names in their emails? So do you know what a from name is? The from name is what comes through. So if I were to send you an email normally, it'd come from me and Stanley. Right? So what I do instead, and the first time I did this was with a client in the paleo space. And I wrote them a sequence, and I used the from name, your abs. And we tested 2 subject lines. One was, I have something important I need to tell you. And the other one was, do this to me right after you wake up. And that email did 5 times the sales of every other email in that sequence. And so but here's the thing is, so if you guys have seen this, if you get onto like BioTrust list, or any of the big health guys now, they're all doing this. And the funny thing is I presented this like a year and a half ago now, I think. And I was like, I told my friend, I'm like, I don't really want to share this. I'm kind of like, I'm worried everybody's going to start doing it and then it's not going to be as powerful. And he's like, dude, people don't do shit. He's like, nobody's going to do shit. And like 7 months later, a couple guys started testing it and now it's everywhere. I started that. Not a big deal, but I started that. So, and actually there was a guy, Telman Knudsen, did it in like the personal development space with like some really weird stuff. But for the health space, I started doing that and the results are seriously crazy. And the cool thing is, the reason I love email is it's fun. Like, I won't write sales letters my whole life. I'll always write emails in some fashion, no matter what I'm doing, because it's fun. You get to develop a relationship with people. And I find that the more fun I have, the more money I end up making from my list. I think one of my favorite from names of the past little bit was from some poor guy. And he had written me, some guy like responded to one of my emails and he was like, bullshit. And I was like, I think I was saying like what I normally charge for stuff is like, you know, it's like my sales letters are 20 grand, emails are this. And he was like, he just said bullshit. And I've never thought about it because I'm like, I don't have anything to lie about. Like, this is just what I do. I've never done a screenshot or something. Like, I'm not on ClickBank is like trying to show you how to make $17,000 a day from this one weird loophole. And so he wrote back bullshit. And so I just wrote this email and I was like, talking about him, and I was like, I feel bad, you know, he's clearly got his own stuff going on. I wasn't like mean about it, but I wrote from some poor guy. I've written emails from like your wallet. I said, put this inside me. And then the devil, that one's one of my favorites. I just like that somebody gets an email from the devil. It's like, no, he found out. So I was gonna say for a minute, I could sort of go through brainstorming. I'll take like 3 minutes to do this if you want. Brainstorming some from names for your guys' stuff. But here, one thing I want to say about this, so I am lazy, but I'm like, Bill Gates has a great phrase, which was something like, never hire a hardworking person to do a job because they'll just do all the hard work and get it done no matter what. Hire a lazy person because they don't want to do all the hard work. They're going to find an efficient way to do it. That's me. I'm like, I don't want to do all that shit again. Here's how I want to do this. So, but there are times when I'm not lazy, rarely. But all these marketers are super lazy with the emails from your thyroid, your butt, your bank account, all this stuff. They just write a normal email. They're just using it to increase their open rates with the from name. What I do is I write the email as though I am that thing, right? So when I write the email as your abs, it's, hey, this is your abs speaking. I know that's a little weird, but I have an important message for you. Did you know that when you wake up, I'm not awake yet? Right? So I literally write as though I am the body part. When I write as the wallet, I'm like, I say stuff, I'm like, dude, I think it's kind of getting sad. You're not putting anything in me anymore. I'm feeling thin. It's like, but I got this awesome friend, Ian Stanley, who wants to fill me with soft, warm cash. And this stuff, so if you take a minute and you actually try and become the thing that you're writing as, it's incredibly powerful. You don't have to be super creative here. I'm not saying you have to be some genius to do this. Just have fun with it. So if you guys want to brainstorm any for your business, if anyone wants to raise a hand and be like,
I got a quick question for you, actually. When you're sorry. Quick question for you. When you're writing a from, a from name email, do you use speaking to them directly? Would you say you, or would you say we or us? If it's like your abs or your ass or would you say, hey, wake up in the morning, we need to, or would you say you?
You. You're separate, yeah.
So again, you're going back to a you on an email one instead.
Rules are meant to be broken, my friend.
Just
no, I mean, I'm not writing as me as Ian Stanley, so I don't talk about myself all the time. It's just like 95%. No, I mean, for something like that, you're sort of separating yourself, right? So you could test that. It could be like, dude, we really need to get our shit together. Like, have you seen us at the beach?
Exactly.
We look terrible.
Exactly.
That'd actually be great. So again, have fun with it, right? Like whatever you think of, test that shit. I came up with this randomly. There's no formula for it. Like but I would typically sort of almost as though you're speaking to them, as though you are the object, the item, whatever it is. So you're having almost a dialogue with them, right? Go ahead. You raising your hand or are you stretching? You got a minute and 20 seconds.
Yeah, you're talking about email tactics. Would these work the same on, let's say, an advertorial with traffic coming from a Facebook ad or a native ad or display?
That would probably be an awesome thing to try. Yeah, I would definitely try that. Like special message from your abs and like, or from whatever it is, and then literally write the advertorial. So like if you've seen Fight Club, I kind of think of it almost as like, your cancerous spleen or whatever it is. So I would test that. That'd be a really cool advertorial. I've thought about it even for like just a Facebook ad. Like if you start out with that line. So the only time, really quick, the time that I'll open my first line with my name is if I'm doing, has anybody here seen like Lai Topez or Very Grinderchuck or Kent Gardone? I do parodies of those people. And in the first sentence, I say, hey, hey, baby, this is Grant, this is Kent Gardone here. I got an important message for you today. How you can 10x your sales. And I say my name in that because it's important that it's already unique enough, right? It's like, who's Kent Gardone? So I say it in that, and it's the same if it's like, hey, this is your abs, whatever it is, you can start with that as your first sentence. But that's a really good idea, actually. That makes me want to test like a Facebook ad as one of those things. I wonder if they'd approve it. Cool. So I'm going to sort of shift gears here and talk to you guys about money. Who likes money? Can you raise your hands like you're not ashamed of money, even though there's a lot of shame about money? Yeah. Cool. The guys who didn't raise your hands, I see you. Everybody got this? Everybody draw it in their notebooks? Good. That's Sexual Inception. I do love going around at the end of these things and people are like, I have the best picture in my notebook now. That's my favorite thing. The husband's like, what's this? It's Ian's penis. Okay, so this is not a funny presentation, just so you know, just to set that expectation for you. So as I've sort of said, and so this is something new that I've just started teaching. It's something that I've been doing in my own life for quite a while now, and it's basically what I attribute my success to and why I've been able to work so little and make a pretty good amount of money. And I thought that what I did was normal, just like everybody thinks what they do is normal until they find out that it is in fact not normal. We think that everybody else does the same things we do, which is something we also tend to do to discount our own gifts, is we think that people find, I write most of my emails in 5 to 10 minutes, and I think that's normal. And then I realized that most people don't think that's normal, just like I can't play a guitar and some people can do all sorts of crazy shit on that, and that's normal to them. So, like I said, I'm a bit lazy, and really I enjoy my life. Work is not the foundation of my life. It's something I very much enjoy, especially the work I do with my business partner, Brent, for Lionheart. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done by far. And that includes selling water filters and giving water to kids. Like, this is more impactful to me. But part of it is like, we all organize our work, and we put our work into a calendar, and we put our schedules based around work, and then we put our life and our fun into the little cracks between work. So what I like to do is I like to plan my fun. I saw this line, this guy said, I take my leisure seriously. And I fucking loved it. And that's how I feel, is like my life is important, and I want to plan that first and then put my work in around that. And the law that's been the two laws of my life that have sort of dominated my work life, at least, are the 80-20 principle, which, as you know, is 20% of your efforts will dictate 80% of your results. And then Parkinson's law, which basically states that whatever amount of time you allot to do the work you have to do, you're going to fill it. You give yourself 8 hours a day, you're going to work 8 hours a day. If you give yourself 3, you're going to get it done in 3. What I've found is, so I travel quite a lot, and when I'm traveling, sometimes I do my absolute best work because I don't do the things that look like work, feel like work, seem like work. I just do work because I have shit that I want to do. If I'm at home and I have nothing planned, you're like, cool, if I get all my work done at 9, what am I going to do all day? Right? And you're like, well, I may as well just sit here and keep opening tabs and going between tabs all day. This is really useful. So I had this idea a while ago for something I call the 3-week month, which is basically I just want to work 3 weeks a month. I do well with bouts of intensity and giving myself a week to sort of disconnect from things. And I got it, there was this Belgian-French author, and there's a book called Daily Rituals. I don't know if anybody's read it, by this guy Mason Curry. Pretty interesting. It's got just a bunch of like schedules of sort of entrepreneurs, authors, inventors, interesting people. And everybody's got super different things, but most of them do have rituals, and it's quite interesting to see how they did it. And this one guy really stood out to me. And he would basically, wow, Suresh. Wow. I mean, so he would basically write a book in 3 weeks. And he was like, and so he was thinking, he had this insane work schedule, right, where he would write a book in 3 weeks. He would work he'd get up at, I think it was 5:30 or 6, it was at 6. He'd have some coffee and he'd write from 6:30 till 9:30 in the morning. That was his work. Literally, he had 3 hours. But his 3 hours were completely different than your 3 hours, than my 3 hours, except I've gotten much better about this. He had a sign on his door that basically said, "Fuck off." And people took it seriously. He had this sign on his door, and he didn't have a validation box in his pocket. Anybody have a validation box? This thing makes you feel really good when you get likes and stuff, right? What do you do when you wake up? Phone. Does anybody check their phone when they wake up? Probably the worst thing you could ever do for yourself. Not just from a standpoint, I'm not preaching from some, like, I still do it from time to time, but not just from the aspect of, like, all the other issues that come along with having a phone that connects to all these people and shit. But your brain literally starts to seek instant gratification when you start to get dopamine hits right away in the morning, right? So if you check Instagram, you check Facebook, you check these different things, you're literally signaling to your brain, hey, I need shit to happen now. I want to feel good right now. So you lose the ability to delay gratification. The single biggest indicator of success is your ability to delay gratification. It's the single biggest indicator. The second one is your ability to intervene with yourself before you fuck shit up, basically. Self-sabotage. So I had this idea. I want to do this 3-week month. And then I was talking to an employee of mine, and he'd come out to Austin. And again, this is a little bit stilted in my delivery of this, but I'm going to jump into the important shit. But basically, I was like, hey, do you want to see how I set up my to-do list? And he was like, yeah. And again, I thought this was normal. So I showed him. And basically what I do is I write down the thing I'm supposed to do, or the thing, I'll put down a list of all the shit I have to do over the next couple weeks, right? And I write them down, and then I write how long I think they will take. And then I write how much money I think it will make. And then I do the thing that makes me the most money for the least time. And I do that shit first. So, but the big thing is I classify everything into 3 types of money. And this is my way of sort of teaching this. And this is something I've done for years. And again, I thought that everybody was doing this in some fashion, and they're not. So the 3 types of money, and this is just a normal drawing. Don't get excited. This is maintenance money. So I can write these out, but so maintenance money. This is money now. And then down here is money later. Okay? So now I want to start out with the ideal. And I also want to be very realistic with you. The ideal is that you spend, and I've gotten pretty close to this, about 80% of your time in money later, 15% of your time in money now, and about basically as little time as humanly possible in maintenance money. So to describe these things, money later would be any new money coming in within the next 30 to 60, 90, 120 days or later, right? Money now is any new money coming in within the next 1 to 30 days. And maintenance money is any tasks that you do that bring in money you'd already be making, right? Customer service. I have a membership group where I write a newsletter each month, and I do a couple live stream calls like critiquing copy. And those tasks are maintenance money. I'm going to make that money anyway. Do I have to do it? Yeah, but that's maintenance money. So I did this with my employee, right? And this is one of the most useful things about this is that you can teach this to your employees and actually get them to make money for you instead. Basically, most people with a job, this is about all they do. And that's about their earning potential as well. It's about 5% as much as people who have access to different things, right? Most people, a lot of the people in this room, probably spend a lot of their time and money now in maintenance money. So my goal is to get you even just to spend 10, 20% of your time in money later. Right? So this is one of my favorite things about email. The reason I love email is because every email you write is an asset that can make you money forever. You write one great email, guess what happens? It goes into an autoresponder, right? That way I don't use this thing that makes me money once. I want everything to make me money for as long as it possibly can. So again, you want to, and so this is, if you only take one thing away, this is actually worth writing down, is if you only do one thing, spend the first hour of your day focused on money later. Don't check your phone. Don't shame yourself if you do, it's fine. But do your best not to check your phone, not to do email, not to do these different things. Make the first task of your day something that's going to generate revenue for your business, maybe for whether it's a long-term asset, whether it's something new that's going to bring in money 30 days, 60 days, 90 days from now. But spend the first hour of your day on money later. If you do that one thing, I would be absolutely shocked if you didn't start making more money. And what's cool is imagine if you got all of your employees, if anybody has employees in here, to start doing that same thing. Most employees are focused on maintaining money for you. What if you train them how to think in this way, and they spent the first hour of their day actually generating revenue for your company? I'll tell you, I did this with one of my employees, and he's had the 2 best weeks of his life since I showed this to him. It's incredible how he's organizing his day now. So real quick, let's just check in. Any questions here? I'm happy. Like, this is something I'm learning how to teach and stuff as well, so I'm very open to any questions that anybody might have.
Okay, so is it on? Okay, awesome. Awesome presentation. So the money, the maintenance, right? What if that specific task is time consuming and it takes up?
Don't fucking do it. What do you mean, man?
Well, like in the sense that, like, sustaining, like keeping revenues at a consistent level, right? Keeping profits consistent. What if that one task takes majority of your time to do? Like,
Yeah,
say,
serious. So I'm being serious. Get someone else to do it. If somebody, what is this task? Let's use your example specifically.
Launching new ads, setting up a new Facebook account, just consistent.
I'm so glad that you brought this up.
Right.
Do you have an agency or what do you do?
Yeah, we have a company. So we have like media buyers. We're a media buying company.
God is such a beautiful man. If he's real, whatever you believe. I'm so fucking glad you asked that.
All right.
Because I went through this with a friend just the other day, specifically about having an ad agency, how your time should go into this. Would you like me to go through that for you?
That'd be amazing.
Okay. Getting the chills right now. It's exciting. Okay. So, you're the CEO, right? You own the company.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, here is maintenance money is running ads, changing bids, basically getting ads going, launching new ads, getting stuff up. That is maintenance money, right? You're getting paid by somebody to run their ads, and
right.
That is your maintenance money. This is exactly what I'm saying. This is where people are spending all their time. They think that's what they do. That's not what you do. You run a company. You don't run ads, right? So that is your maintenance money. Guess who does that? Other people. Let me classify these for you really quickly. You've heard of work smarter, not harder, right? So money now is hard work. I don't like that much. Money later is smart work, right? Maintenance money is what I call dumb work. Do you know who dumb work's for? other people, not the people in this room, right? Some people are designed for dumb work. That's how they were made. And some people, dumb work is the path to their better work, right? And some people love the shit you hate. That's one of the things that's a realization for me. Some people love the shit you hate. The thing that drives you crazy, they sit there and they geek out and they love it, right? So specifically, ad agency, right? Maintenance money is literally running the ads, the bids. It's training someone to be able to do that, and they do not have to be able to do it as well as you. If they can get 80% of the results you get, you're still...
Sorry, my apologies to stop you. So we're a media buying company. So we have like intelligent, bright, like media buyers, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not the one doing this. So it's my employees that are kind of stuck.
And I'm going to show you for the employees too.
Sorry?
You're like in my head, my friend.
All right.
This is incredible.
Awesome.
I feel like we're connected. I also should not be bending over like this. Okay, money now would be, so let's just use this as an example for your employees, right? Maintenance money for them is literally running your ads and bids. Money now would be testing a new hook or new angles, right? So that's something that's actually going to create more revenue for you guys if they're testing new shit. Just putting up new ads and new bids and stuff and running ads and maintaining ads is not going to make that's not going to make a big difference. It needs to be done. What's going to make a difference is if they come up with a new hook, a new angle, something like that, right? Now, money later would be creating a template or a new way of running ads, right? So if you had them spend the first half an hour to an hour a day literally thinking about new ways that they could potentially run ads, new ways to set up. So imagine, let's say the first 5 to 10 seconds of a video are going to make the biggest impact on how that ad does. Imagine if you can get them to test new shit and find out that there's a specific sentence that works for almost every ad. That's going to make you money for the next year, next 2 years, whatever it is. But they're not spending time doing that typically, right?
Right. Exactly.
So for you then, so this would be the employee, right? Does that make sense to everyone? Is that useful? Okay, so imagine if you could get your employees to literally spend 10% of their time finding ways to make you money forever, right? So, but this is literally where they're spending everything. All their time is right there. So if you have them set aside 1 hour a week for new hooks, new angles specifically, 2 hours a week, whatever it is, and they spend 30 minutes in each morning literally creatively thinking about new ways that they can actually run ads, they could make you a lot more money for a long time. Now for you, what are your tasks, do you think?
Well, right now it's like finding the next big vertical innovation, right? In the sense of like...
What about so do you run, like you have clients come to you and then you run their ads?
Yeah, basically. Like we have advertisers coming to us and then we're basically their quote unquote internal media buying team, you know?
Right.
So
realistically, what makes you the most money is getting new clients.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. Your maintenance money is basically sort of running the company, right? Little things, whatever it is, managing a team, stuff like that, which somebody else should be doing. Money now would be what you just said, finding a new vertical, something like that, right? Does that sound about right? So here's the thing. Again, this is why I do this with people, because I realize I've been doing this for years for myself, and that's why this stuff makes sense to me, is you think of that almost as money later. People tell me, oh, that's money later. It's like, no, that's still money now. For you, money later is literally nothing's going to move the needle on your revenue like getting new clients, right?
Exactly, yep.
Literally nothing else is going to make as much as that, right? So for you, it's either prospecting, it's reaching out to new people, it's putting out a piece of content to bring new people into your world. 80% of your time should be spent on getting new people to run ads for. Does that sound about right?
No, love it. It's great.
Yeah. So if the first hour of your day, again, I'm not trying to be unrealistic. I deeply believe that if everybody in the world shut off their phones for 3 hours a day, we'd have a dramatically different world that we live in. Because we're so fucking distracted that we can't do anything. And that's the thing is, I work 2 or 3 hours a day is about my max. And I've realized though is I do work differently during that time. I consider real work to be, if I'm putting words on paper, so it's very easy for me to classify when money's really coming in for me, right? If I'm writing shit or I'm filming shit, I'm probably gonna make money. Everything else, somebody else should probably be doing that. And if you're afraid to pay someone else to do it, good. Fear's a compass. It's just a really easy way to find out what the fuck you're supposed to be doing. Right? You're scared of it, do it. I know that's easier said than done. But you can't get rid of fear. You can only change your response to it. So when you start to be able to classify these things, you realize how useful it can be and how much time you're spending on shit that doesn't matter or that you shouldn't be doing. Right? I don't know if there's, I have time here. I'm going to use all my time because I'm fucking amped right now. I got to tell you guys.
No, it's awesome information.
Awesome. I'm glad it's helpful. So basically, like the business that Brent and I have is, it's basically helping high achievers work through the deeper emotional and personal blocks that are holding them back. Stuff that you're not even aware of is happening, right? And I've found that selling that on the front end is not as easy as talking about money. And he has some really unique stuff about money. I have this. So he's basically going into these 5 core beliefs about money, which are things like, actually, I'd be really curious if you guys could raise your hands and be super honest and actually put your hands up when this happens. Who here thinks rich people are assholes? Okay. So who thinks money is evil? I know some people are like, I don't want to raise my hand and show what's going on here. A lot of these people have these beliefs. This is a different room, by the way. If I did this out on the street, fucking everybody'd be raising their hands about those two. All right, who thinks that there's never enough money? Raise your hands. There's no shame here. You're humans who have shit that happened. We all have a real DNA that our parents gave us, like a genetic one. We also have a money DNA. Based on where we were raised, what our parents told us about money, what society said, those beliefs are deep in there. And it doesn't matter. Here's the thing. I can teach you all this shit, but if your core beliefs about money are messed up, which most people's are, you're not going to do shit. There's a reason why you read all the personal finance books and then you don't do any of the stuff in there. It's not because it doesn't work. It's because there's something going on around your beliefs about money. All right, who thinks that I have to work harder to make more? Really? That's it? I think there's more of you. And then this is a really deep belief. This is the one that's the most impactful on people, and that's that I don't deserve it. And this is unconscious for the most part. People don't think I don't deserve money, but there are 3 ways we relate to money. One is how we spend it. 2 is making it. Anybody guess what number 3 is? Who said that? Well played. This one, for people like us in this room, this is the one that'll fuck with you, right? Because first off, if you feel bad about the way you've made money, if you have shame around it, guilt around it, anything like that, you will consistently find ways. Anybody here ever continue to make more money and have the same amount in your bank account? Yeah, I've done that. It's because there's deeper stuff going on. It's not because you're stupid. It's not because you don't know how to manage it. It's, holy shit, I made 50 grand a day. Bottles into club. Do they really make you feel better? No, but they bring you back down to a level that you're comfortable with, right? They bring you back to a place that you're actually okay with. So I just made a worksheet for this stuff, for the money now, money later, maintenance money, basically how to set up your day based on this. Is that something, I literally just made this, so I'm just asking if you guys would want that. It's, okay, cool. If you guys, how many are you? Okay, you can all just email me personally. If you literally put money matrix in the subject line, I will send it back to you.
Or I'll send it out to you.
Okay,
All the
cool.
attendees. Do you want to open the floor to questions? Because I know some.
Yeah,
people
I'd love to.
might have-
If you guys do want to email me anything, it's ian@feedthewolf.com. It's right there. I forget my email sometimes, so I had it tattooed on me.
If anybody has a question, if you want to raise your hand high, then Amanda can give you the microphone. If not, I have a question. I find writing emails very, very painful.
Yeah.
Let me ask people in the room, how many of you, put up your hand real high if you think you live an amazing, exciting life? Oh, good for you. Wow. I think the vast majority of people think they're boring, so they don't know what to write about.
Yeah.
So how does somebody overcome those obstacles of writing emails when they don't think there's anything worthy to talk about?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. So I had a coaching client who was a Mormon lad from Utah, and he was like, man, I just don't really know what to write about. I just, I don't think my life's that exciting. I said, you know what? Be less boring. Get a more exciting life, right? I know that's kind of brutal. And I was like, dude, this is going to sound brutal. A week later, he's like, yo, I took a random flight to New York, ended up having all these crazy experiences, all shit. So I'm like, not only am I making a copy better, but I'm improving your life. But that's a ridiculous statement to just say have a more exciting life. I would say one thing about email copy specifically is everything that happens in your life becomes a story. The dishwasher breaks, you're late to pick up your kids from school. There's lessons in everything. You just don't know, you don't see them because you're not trained to see them. Stand-up is the same way. Stand-up is this fucking crazy thing where when things get bad, you get into a bad situation, like you're throwing up off the side of the boat in Belize and you can barely function, you're going, get a little bit worse, because the story's not, nobody loves a story like, it was, and it got really bad, and then everything worked out. It was fine. You start to enjoy these crazy moments because you know that they're beautiful stories that you can tell later. So the other thing is, one of the most useful things you can do, go read, first off, when you read books, people have already written really cool shit for you. They've already given you like cool analogies and templates. Take their analogies and then relate it to whatever it is that you're writing about. But start to see the stories in the little things. There literally are stories everywhere. Your kid sells you something, your spouse, whatever it is, something happens. You can write about everything. And I would urge you, if you feel compelled, to spend like 5 minutes a day, literally 5 minutes, just writing some stories about your day and start to see if anything interesting comes up. You'll be surprised at how you can learn the skill of making anything interesting. But yeah.
Perfect. Anybody have any other questions?
Please, I'm here right now. Happy to answer.
I'm relatively new to all of this, but when you're talking about email, I presume you're talking about email sequences, and do you have a limit to how many in a sequence of emails that you're going to push out to your list? Do you ever sort of recycle that sequence? Can you maybe talk about that a little bit?
I can. That's a really good question. It's a really smart, attractive crowd, by the way.
Canadian.
Yeah.
Predominantly.
Yeah, that's what it is. I need to speak in Canada more. So I view it like, anybody here watch South Park? Yeah, see, that's what South Park does to people. It's maybe the best show ever written. Like, the smartest writers, maybe of all time, they create their shows in 6 days, right? There's a cool documentary on it. They actually took Comedy Central from 4 million viewers to the next year they were in 50 million homes because of that show. So the reason I bring that up is because if I want somebody to watch South Park, if I'm like, I really want my friend to get into South Park because I care about them, I could say, go watch an episode, right? And they're gonna pick a random episode. And that may be a good one, it may be an okay one, it may not make sense for them. Now, if I were to really want them to watch South Park, I would think, what are the 3 episodes that that person would love? I'm gonna make them watch those 3 episodes first, right? It's the same with email. I wanna put my best emails in front of somebody when they opt in. I don't wanna rely upon my random blast emails. And also, people ask, how much should you mail? I have found that the more you email, the more you make. Pretty simple. Once or twice a day tends to work best. I've never made less money by emailing more. I know that can be intimidating, but it's better to email a couple times a week than not at all. People are like, if I don't mail daily, I'm not gonna mail at all. But so what I do is I take my best stuff and I front load it into the start of a sequence. I put little open loops in there and things to make people guessing for later emails. But what we did so I worked with a list of like 1.2 million people in the credit space, and what we would do is we would send all these blast emails, and we would take our best ones, and we'd do what we called a Franken sequence. So we would take all of our best shit, we'd go through this like every 90 days, and then we would put the best ones. So we'd take our existing autoresponder, which at the time was about 30 days, and we would move around the emails based on which ones were doing best. You can dramatically change how you, just again, sequence is everything. You can dramatically change your response in an autoresponder just by putting certain emails earlier on. People put their good shit too late when people have stopped opening, right? So what we did though is we would then take our blast emails, take all of the best stuff that we had written, and then we put it into an autoresponder, built our autoresponder to 90 days. And then over time, we would replace the ones that weren't as good with ones that were better. So I want to control their experience as long as I possibly can. For my own stuff, I do more blast email stuff because I'm like doing stuff and it's sort of off the cuff, but that's again where South Park comes in. South Park is the only cartoon and the only show, frankly, in the world that creates episodes in 6 days. What does that mean? Does anybody know what that means? It's timely. It means that they can literally make an episode about what Trump did yesterday tomorrow. You know what Family Guy can't do? Write a coherent plot that involves jokes that are relevant to the plot. Other than that, that'll ruin Family Guy for you, sorry. They did 3 episodes on Family Guy, but basically you can write this really timely shit, and newsworthy emails, you can take, the Super Bowl's going on, or Miley Cyrus just, did a bunch more cocaine. Whatever it is that's in the news, you take that and you put that in a subject line. It's your reticular activation system. You basically notice things that are already on the top of your mind. So the more timely you can be with things, the better it is. But you can still take that timely email, put it in an autoresponder, and get about 80% of the results. So, boom.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ian Stanley.
Thanks, dude.